Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am a 3D enthusiast person from India with a newly formed hobby in 3D printing. I started exploring the 3D printing world a little more than a year ago. Even though the 3D printing community is huge and one of the most helpful and enthusiastic community I have ever seen, I found it very rarely talked in the Indian YouTube channels. That's why I intend to start this channel to share my learnings and my journey as a 3D printing hobbyist. Okay, so let's get started with today's video. In this video, I will talk about few basic things you will need to know to get started with 3D printing. Well, to start, one might wonder why 3D printing is a great hobby. It's very simple. The creative thoughts and design you imagine and make, you make it into a reality. Isn't that interesting? Believe me, it's so satisfying to see your designs getting a physical shape layer by layer in a 3D printer. Okay, so next question comes to the mind is what you can print in 3D. Literally anything, any object, any design which you can make in 3D, you can print it. From toys to daily required objects like soap case, decoratives, bowls, tree pots, and even buildings. Yes, you heard me right. Recently, a post office is being 3D printed in Bangalore, and this is how it looks. Isn't this looks nice? Well, don't think you want to print your dream home just yet. But who knows? Maybe in future you will do. Now, to jump into this really exciting hobby, first thing you will need is a 3D printer. There are mainly two kinds of 3D printer you can buy for your home use. There are a lot of other kinds, but I will talk about them in another video. So the most common and easy to use one is an FDM printer, and the other one is called a SLA or resin based 3D printer. In FDM, we use a filament of different kinds of 3D plastic, pass it through a hot metal nozzle to print the object layer by layer, just like a glue gun. On the other hand, in resin 3D printer, liquid resin is being stored in a tank and the build plate comes from the top into the tank. Using a laser projector or an LCD, we throw UV light into this resin and solidify it layer by layer to create the 3D object. Because resin is toxic, it's not as easy to handle in a home environment as FDM 3D printers. Even though resin printer is also very exciting. But for today, let's talk about FDM printers as that's the best thing you should get started with. Okay, now time to choose your first 3D printer. If you check online, there are two kinds of FDM 3D printer you will see. One looks like this, where the print bed is open to air, and another one which is an enclosed FDM 3D printer. There are some filaments like ABS which requires an enclosed environment to get printed. That's why in enclosed printer you will be able to print a lot more kinds of filament. But these open air 3D printers are more cheaper and you can print the basic material like PLA into it, so it's more popular for 3D printing beginners. Now coming to choose, you can see this Ender 3 V2 Neo, which is one of the most popular open bed 3D printer. And if you want to go for an enclosed one, right now in Indian market I can see the most popular one is the Creality K1. The one I bought is this one. It's Flashforge Adventure 4. It's an awesome 3D printer, but currently it is out of stock in Indian market. But it will be available very soon and you can check this out. Okay, so once you have bought your first 3D printer, the next thing you will need is a 3D filament. If you go into Amazon and search for 3D filament, you will get a lot of options. The first one you want to select is a PLA because that's the most easiest one to get started with. Okay, let's choose one. This golden one looks really good to me. I'm gonna use it for my first print. Now let's find a 3D file to get printed. Don't worry, you don't have to create it on your own. There are a lot of sites available where you can find a 3D object to get printed. The two sites I will recommend is this printable.com and thingiverse.com. These two sites will give you a lot of object to get printed in your 3D printer. But the first one which you want to print is a 3D Benchy. Search in the Google 3D Benchy and the first site you will find this. Go ahead, download the file, extract it, and you're ready to get started with your first print. Now, you will need a slicing software to send your 3D file to your printer. I am using FlashPrint, which is FlashForge's slicing software. You can use the one which is recommended for your printer. Don't worry, all slicing softwares are more or less similar and are very easy to use. Now in this video, I am not going into too details of these slicing softwares. I will make another one to talk about it. For now, let's slice it and send it to the printer. You can send it in two ways, either through Wi-Fi if your printer support it, or you can export a G-code from the slicing software, save it into a pen drive or a SD card depending on your printer, plug it in and start your print. And there you have it, your first 3D print. Hope this video has inspired you to embark on your 3D printing journey. If you have any comments, questions, or ideas for future videos, let me know in the comment section below. Happy printing!